It had been several months, and although Stella had gone on a record number of wish missions by wish tank standards, she still hadn't been on another inspirational wish mission. So when she was summoned to the Wishworld launch pad, she tried not to get her hopes up too high. But then, there she was, and there it was. Skylar was waiting for Stella with what she immediately recognized as an inspirational wish orb, and it was even more dazzling than Stella remembered her previous one to be. Finally, Stella blurted out, unable to contain her exuberance. Yes, Skylar replied with her usual warm smile. Finally. Do you know anything about the wish? Stella asked as she eagerly took the orb and gazed at the shimmering hues of green, silver, and blue. Only that you are uniquely equipped with the ability to help make it come true, and that it has the potential to set a new standard for wish granteers and wish scientists everywhere, Skylar said. I'm not sure I can even quantify how significant it might be for the wish tank, nor for Starland as a whole. Stella looked into Skylar's eyes and noticed the slightest hint of concern flash across them. Don't worry, Stella said as a sense of calm washed over her. I'm ready. I'm glad. Skylar blinked gratefully at Stella and led her over to the 2 star wranglers who were holding Stella's shooting star steady for her. Within moments, Stella was fastened to the star and ready to take flight. Good luck, she heard Skylar call out, but she didn't have time to reply as she sped off through the atmosphere at a velocity that made it too difficult to speak. From there, everything seemed to happen more quickly than usual. Stella found herself approaching Wishworld and swiftly changed from her silver lab coat into a pair of soft, stretchy pink pants and a matching jacket with a white zipper along with white sneakers. Then, holding tightly to her wish pendant and saying the words that would transform her appearance. She focused on changing her golden pink ponytail to light brown and removing all the sparkle and shine from her skin. When her star zap told her to prepare for landing, she noticed that she was approaching a giant sports arena that was full of thousands of people. For a fleeting moment, she worried that someone might see her. But fortunately, she touched down in an empty area near a short tunnel that appeared to lead directly to the playing field itself. After picking up the star that had transported her, folding it up, and placing it in a small shoulder bag along with her safety glasses, Stella looked down at her star zap and told it to take her to her wisher. Following its directions, she walked through the tunnel and arrived at a long chain-link fence. Inside the fence was a dirt-running track, which was divided up by white lines into several individual lanes that circled around the grassy athletic field. As Stella peered through the fence, she heard the crowds of people up in the stands whistling and cheering. It was clear that this was some sort of athletic competition, but Stella had never seen such an enormous stadium before. It was at least 5 times the size of the playing field outside of the Radiant Recreation Center at Starling Academy. As she looked out on the track, Stella finally saw why the crowd had been cheering. 6 girls were walking out and taking their positions in front of large signs that were numbered 1 through 6. All of the girls wore white shorts, some with stripes down the sides, and sleeveless shirts in different colors. In the middle of each of their shirts, front and back, was a large white patch with a black number on it. As they took their positions, a man's voice boomed out through a loudspeaker, introducing the girls by name and revealing a few details about each of them, such as where they were from and what had led to them competing in the race that was about to begin. Then each girl bent over, placed her hands on the dirt track, and squatted down as a hush fell over the entire arena. Suddenly, a loud bang pierced the air and the girls took off like shooting stars, running faster, faster, and faster still. As they sped around the track, the girl in the inner lane was in the lead, but then the one on the outside raced ahead of her. A few moments later, however, it was the third one from the inside of the track edging into first place. It was stimulating to watch, and Stella couldn't resist cheering right along with all the people up in the stands, many of whom had now leapt to their feet. At last, each girl crossed what appeared to be the finish line, one after the other, and the stadium erupted with thunderous applause. Realizing she still needed to find her wisher, Stella looked down at her star zap again and followed its directions up the wooden steps leading to the endless rows of blue seats and over to an empty spot near the front. She could feel her wish pendant growing warm beneath her jacket as she sat down next to a dark-skinned woman with short black hair who looked over at Stella with a sweet smile. Could this be her wisher? Our baby's up next, the woman said to Stella, who smiled back in spite of being somewhat confused. Stella simply nodded politely and looked out at the track, wondering who the woman's baby was, and, more to the point, if baby wishlings were really allowed to compete in an event this big. If they were, why would this woman be up in the stands instead of taking care of her baby? Just then, 6 more girls walked out onto the track and the woman next to her immediately jumped to her feet. "You've got this, Tina," the woman shouted, waving her arms frantically, to one of the girls. "Come on, baby girl," added the man 2 seats down from Stella, also rising to his feet. He had gray hair peeking out from a fancy dark blue hat, along with a matching blue suit. Stella watched as a girl in a red shirt and white shorts, who looked like a younger version of the woman next to her, smiled and waved back before taking her spot in the outside lane. So that was their baby, although a bit more grown-up than Stella had expected. She must have been at least 16. As the couple next to Stella sat back down, the booming voice of the announcer echoed through the stadium once again, introducing each of the competitors out on the track. When he began talking about Tina, Stella glanced over at the couple again and saw them nodding along and beaming with pride. When Tina was a little girl, the announcer was saying, every doctor she met told her parents that she would never be able to walk, but that didn't stop her. She wouldn't let anything stop her, and now, here she is, participating in the summer games. Stella looked down at the track again. How was it possible that Tina was about to run a race after being told as a child that she wouldn't even be able to walk? "Are you Tina's parents?" Stella asked the woman sitting next to her. "We sure are," the woman replied with a nod as she gave the man's knee a light pat. "So is that true, what the announcer said about doctors telling you Tina would never walk?" "It sure is." Tina's mother smiled, with a faraway look in her eyes. "But, why would they tell you something like that?" Stella pressed, eager to learn more about Tina, but also wanting to figure out if Tina's mother was her wisher. Her wish pendant wasn't providing any help. "It was the disease," the woman replied softly. "It affected all the muscles in her body, especially her legs. But she wouldn't let that get in her way," Tina's father added, his dark eyes shining as he smiled over at Stella. "She spent months and months at the hospital, in physical therapy. And then she started working with the coaches. Once she started running, she never stopped." Tina's mother beamed. "For as long as we can remember, she's only wished for one thing, to win a gold medal in the Olympics." When Stella heard those last few words, she felt her wish pendant growing warm beneath her pink jacket. She shifted away from the woman for a moment so that she could check it, and, indeed, it was glowing bright pink. Tina must be her wisher, and her wish was to win a gold medal. But here we go. Tina's father let out a whistle, interrupting Stella's thoughts, and began to tap his foot as he stared intently down at the track. Stella turned her attention to Tina, too, watching as she and the other girls all bent over and placed their hands on the dirt track. Then, just as before, a shot rang out and they all took off. Almost immediately, Tina was in the lead. Stella leapt to her feet and began cheering and whistling right alongside Tina's parents, and before she knew it, Tina was nearing the finish line in first. But then, suddenly, the girl in the outside lane overtook Tina by a few strides. Then the girl next to the lead runner edged ahead of Tina as well. No. Stella focused all of her energy on Tina, hoping against hope that she could somehow push her back into the lead. But it was no use. The other 2 girls crossed the finish line and Tina came in a very close third. Stella collapsed in her seat. How could this be? She was supposed to be there to make sure that Tina won a gold medal, wasn't she? How was she going to do that now that the race was over? But then Stella noticed that Tina's parents were embracing happily. As they broke apart, they looked out at the track again and cheered even louder than before when Tina walked by and waved up at them with a huge smile. Clearly they didn't mind in the least that Tina had only come in 3rd place. And Stella couldn't help smiling at how proud they all were. Can you believe it? Tina's mother flashed a huge smile as she turned to Stella and squeezed her arm. My baby got the bronze medal. The bronze medal. That's wonderful. Stella replied. Congratulations. Thank you, the woman said, dabbing at her tears of joy with a white handkerchief as the man looked over and nodded his pleasure as well. His brown eyes also glistening with happy tears. Still, Stella couldn't help worrying that she had failed to fulfill her wish mission. Had she arrived too late, or was she wrong about the wish? She watched as Tina headed up to a small stage out on the field, where the medals were being given to each of the girls who had placed as one of the top 3 finishers in each of the last few races. Congratulations! The announcer's voice boomed through the speakers when he got to Tina, and someone else put a medal over her head to hang around her neck. This is quite a surprise victory for you, and I know that everyone here will be looking forward to seeing you run in tomorrow's race. Ah! Stella breathed a sigh of relief as the new information sank in. There's another race tomorrow? Yes, indeed, Tina's mother replied. Tina wasn't expected to place in today's race at all, so the bronze is just marvelous, but tomorrow's the big event for her. Everyone who's anyone has predicted she'll take the gold tomorrow. Tina's father added with a wink. So there it was. Stella would somehow need to help make sure Tina got that gold medal at tomorrow's race. She sat back in her seat and felt a warm glow rise to her cheeks as she looked out at all the people in the stadium, especially the little girls, waving flags and cheering for the next group of athletes. In that moment, Stella flashed back to the conversations she'd had with her friends at Starling Academy about wishling girls and wishlings with darker skin having fewer opportunities than others. Yet there was Tina, showing the world that she wouldn't be limited by anyone or anything, including a disability. Everything she had already accomplished proved that anybody could make their wishes come true, no matter what body they were born in. So long as they believed in themselves. No wonder Skylar had emphasized the significance of this mission for the Wish Tank and all of Starland. It actually didn't even sound like Tina would need Stella's help making her wish come true. But as she looked up at the sky and noticed a bank of dark clouds beginning to roll in, Stella couldn't help remembering that there were no guarantees, especially when it came to inspirational wish orbs.